Are you ready to defend the Mountainhome? Excellent! Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you want to grow a long beard or cut stuff with axes, I'm here to help you with everything. I don't like doing these promotional talks, so I'm going to keep it simple. If at some point you would consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like or a comment, you will make my day. Comments make me happy, subscribes make me happy. I check on the likes every now and then, and those make me happy as well. So click something, make me happy, there we go. So we're starting a new role-playing series today where I will zoom in on races. I did classes, ran out of classes, so I'm doing races now. I'm going to start with dwarves because A, I like dwarves, B, they have a very strong archetype present in fantasy that I can depart from, basically. You will find that I won't be as diametrically opposed as in some of my class role-playing videos where I 100% flipped everything around, but I could because the class mechanics still allowed to do so. Here I want to stay in touch with the race. There will always be some trace of dwarf in my dwarf, even if they are a bit unconventional. Obviously I will have a look at traditional dwarfs as well, see what makes a dwarf in a lot of fantasy novels and games, and then pick out a few reasons why your dwarf might want to leave the homestead to go and do some adventuring, because you're a D&D character, that's what you do. First off, let's have a look at what dwarves look like. They're short, they're a bit squat, they have a lovely beard, long hair is not unusual as well, tend to speak in a Scottish accent in fantasy because who knows why. And then when you look at their characteristics, they are very loyal, industrious, a bit greedy, slow to trust, but once you earn their trust, they will do a lot of things for you. And they tend to have a strong hierarchy, are usually one of the races with the more advanced technology as well. That's not the same as being industrious, by the way. You can be very industrious with low tech, but dwarves, they value technology and money. They are a bit greedy, if I hadn't said that already. So your typical dwarf is the dwarf that likes to fight a good fight, drink a nice pint of ale, but is also very crafty. On the side they will be forging their own personal battle axe, and they will have strong ties to those that deserve them and their family, because dwarves usually are very loyal to their clan or their family, are looking to bring honor to the clan or the family, or fame to themselves in some cases. So why would a traditional dwarf leave their mountain home to go out adventuring? There's two broad categories. One, defend the mountain home. A major threat is surfacing and the dwarves need to respond to it. They might send out some of their champions, maybe together with other adventurers, to respond to this threat, and you can be one of the dwarves that is being sent out. You're being sent out to defend the mountain home. You're not being sent out for personal glory, but for the safety and the glory of the dwarves in general. On the other side, there's often also stories of dwarves wanting to prove themselves to their clan, to friends, family, master, or just in general to the mountain home by showing the mountain home that they are one worthy dwarf. Examples of the second one might be that there is a lost family heirloom that was stolen away by goblins years ago, and you're going to look out, you're going to look for the heirloom. The Tale of the Hobbit basically is a good example of this as well. It's a bunch of dwarves heading out to reclaim a lost mountain hold, to just, I know, for their glory and for the glory of dwarf kind. So it's dwarves. There's always they seldom just go out to have an adventure. Of course they want to go out and smack some orcs, but usually there is a tie back to their home place as to why they're out there, because they like to be in their mountain underground crafting stuff, drinking beer and slapping the occasional orc. So why would they journey to the other side of the world, right? So those are two very big reasons. What's also a nice dwarf to play is an artisan dwarf. As I said, they're industrious. But you're still in the process of learning the craft. So if you look at medieval times, you had apprenticeship, you were a journeyman, and then you became a master. So you've learned your craft, you passed your apprenticeship, and now your master tells you, look, you're a good stonemason, you're a good smith, but you need to go somewhere else to learn from other people. I have taught you all that I have to teach. Now you have to go other places and hone your craft. That gives you a really good reason to travel around and makes it less relevant what the adventure is about, because your incentive is to learn by doing and learn by seeing. You want to visit other cities and learn from their craftsmen. You want to visit exotic places to see if there's any special materials that you can find. And when you return after your journey, your goal is to create your masterpiece, the piece that will make your master say, now you are a master as well. That's a nice full circle of going out and discovering stuff and coming back to the Mountainhome, keeping that link with your dwarf city, and giving you an excellent excuse to go out and about, which might make you feel a bit squeamish at first. Even though you're a brave and dapper dwarf, you might have never really set foot outside of your mountain, so the rest of the world might still be new territory, but you're a very trustworthy, industrious dwarf on your own. Whatever your class is, by the way, you can be a craftsman in whatever way. It doesn't matter if you're a wizard or a monk or a fighter, you can be a craftsman as well. Maybe your dwarf is a bit more undwarfish to say, and maybe they like looking at the stars, which is hard when you're under the mountains. Maybe they want to map out the stars, learn more about the stars. And of course, as I said, it's undwarf-like because you will be moving above the ground a lot out of free will, but you're still moving around in the dark. It's not like you want to be in daylight. You want to look at the stars. And maybe you're looking for long lost star maps. You're looking to learn about constellations. You're looking to learn about how you can use the stars in your daily life. It gives you a reason to travel around. It also gives you a reason to be a bit more of a free-spirited dwarf, less hierarchy, less ties to the Mountainhome, I'm afraid. But you like to be in the dark, so that makes you dwarfy. This also makes for a good druid. There's those Starcaller druids, I think they're called nowadays. And this is a good way to make your dwarf into a druid, because often dwarves are less druidy because druids don't like metal. Druids spend a lot of time in nature. This dwarf wants to see the stars, and that's good enough for nowadays to be a druid, apparently. A bit of an odd one out, but maybe for whatever reason your dwarf wants to found a new clan. They might have been exiled, their old clan might have been killed by an invasion of dragons and goblins and what have you, and they're looking for a new home. You want to be the dwarfiest dwarf, and your characteristics will be that of the dwarfiest dwarf, but you will have a great sadness because you don't have a clan anymore for whatever reason, and you're looking for a place and a people. So you have traditions that belong to no one but yourself at this point, and you're looking for new people to found this home with. If you want to be very undwarf-like, maybe your new clan doesn't have to be a bunch of dwarfs. Maybe you want to found a clan according to dwarf habits and rituals, but with a mixed bag of races. Or maybe you're looking for a nice better half, a love of your life type of character with whom you can start anew and gather dwarves around you and make a new clan according to the traditions of your old clan. This will encourage you to travel the world again and look for people who are worthy of being your kinsmen, which leaves a lot of room. Maybe some of your party members will end up as inhabitants of your dwarf clan. Looking for a location can also be fun because this allows you to go and look for an old mountain home that maybe you can recuperate in some way. So there's a nice quest in that thing to go and clean out an old mountain home, find a new mountain home, find a new clan, create a new clan. Those are all fun things to do on the side of whatever world danger you're fighting at that point. You could also be a dwarf from an existing mountain home who is looking for a place for a new colony or whatever. Maybe you're an imperial scout a dwarf sent out to find locations for new colonies, or maybe even better, find a nice large mountain somewhere in the Forgotten Wilds where no dwarf has set foot, and then report back to your emperor so they can send out a colony. Again, this is a dwarf who's inclined to travel just to explore and then report back on a regular basis, which again leaves a lot of flexibility for your story hook. And you're a dwarf with a strong tie to your mountain home. Here you are helping it expand actively. You could be gaining renown as the best explorer of your dwarf empire because you keep finding the best spots to found new colonies. You have to have some knowledge of crafting materials. You have to have some knowledge of engineering to know what's possible. You're a very dwarfy dwarf, but you're applying your trait outside of the mountain home for the glory of the mountain home. Another fun bit could just be nomad dwarves. You're part of a band of dwarves that doesn't have a fixed home for whatever reason. Maybe you're a separate clan, maybe your hold has been taken by a dragon. For whatever reason, your band of dwarves travels around the world on its own. Hence, you're already used to travel. You will probably be rather charismatic because you have to have a way with people to be allowed to set up shop and a house in any given space for a certain moment. And then you can go from there. You can think about whether or not you long for a fixed house or whether you're fine with this. And then you can, once again, the other things come up. Are you adventuring with other people to protect your clan? Is there a certain danger being put in front of your clan, or are you looking for something else very dwarfy? As I said, you might be looking for a home. So even though nomad dwarves, especially if they're topside living dwarves, are very undwarf-like, the reasons why you want to go on adventure can be very, very, very dwarfish. Protect the family, find a home, reclaim something. Those things keep going. But you're a bit of a weird dwarf. You might be an amazing tradesman, for example, who has toured a certain region, hence has a lot of knowledge of the region, can help with whatever threat is facing the region, all while looking for whatever your clan is looking for. And I realize my explanation today might have been a bit confusing here and there. I've hopped around a bit, but I wanted to show you basically that you can have a lot of dwarves that you can play as that are very dwarf-like in tradition and in how they look at the world, but are doing undwarf-like professions or are doing things within their profession that are a bit undwarfish, like traveling very far away. Still, this gives you a lot of hooks, hopefully new hooks, to play your dwarf as whatever dwarf you want to be, but with a good, nice reason to travel around the world, helping companions and bringing glory to your mountain home. And if all goes well, my dear people, I'll see you all again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.